My answer isn't too different. As part of the Whatfix, we tried understanding a lot about customers. So it gave me opportunity to look at many industries slightly more closely. And every industry that I look at a little bit more closely, it fascinates because every industry there's a lot of opportunity for innovation, doing things differently.
I feel specifically from the startup perspective, I think everyone, right from venture capitalists to startup founders and even leaders and executives, everybody push hard for growth, right? Run fast, fail fast, right? Run for some goal post. So as a childhood we used to read, right? Slow and steady wins the race. I think that probably actually helped me take risk, right?
Right.
I think by then, by the time I joined Huawei, I think I was not afraid of trying out something new.
Handle our family business. We have a cloth retail shop in our village. That was all. It's all destined there. But computers changed everything for me. So I built a lot of passion for programming. 13 and roughly, we decided that we'll shut down our search optimization product and we refunded everyone. And then we moved to Whatfix. So the whole emphasis of Whatfix is about can we be a layer on all applications.
In that segment, EX, we wanted to win every deal. Whereas in CX, if we win, it's a bonus.
In today's episode, we join Khadim Batti and Vara Kumar, co-founders of the digital adoption platform Whatfix, used by 150 plus Fortune 500 companies across 30 plus countries. Whatfix is on a mission to make softwares user savvy through its digital adoption platform and product analytics offerings. Join us as we talk about Whatfix's future, building SaaS from India to the world, and contrarian advice for first-time founders. Welcome to the podcast, Khadim and Vara.
Thank you.
Pleasure,
Thank you.
Join.
So we'll start with a rapid fire to warm up, and the questions are for both of you. If you could be a professional in any other field apart from what you're doing today, what would it be and why?
Kalam, you go first.
Yeah. So for me, actually, I'm not very fascinated with any of the fields. I need to, whichever field I go for, I would like to go in depth. And
Okay.
what I love is actually, can I scale that by
Okay.
thinking fundamentally very like from first principle approach.
Okay.
Mm. My answer isn't too different. As part of the Whatfix, we tried understanding a lot about customers. So it gave me opportunity to look at many industries slightly more closely. And every industry that I look at a little bit more closely, it fascinates because every industry there's a lot of opportunity for innovation, doing things differently. Be it agriculture, be it pharma, any industry, it just sounds very interesting. Uh,
Okay.
if it's another field, I think it could be any industry. I think I'll be
Okay.
equally be interested in that.
Understand.
What's the last book that you read that really left an impact?
Yeah, probably the a book which had created a lot of impact on me was the Crossing the Chasm. So I really like that book and the way that you should really think of any new product and how do you go to market with. Uh, that actually changed a lot of my thinking, and that's something that I recommend to all startup founders. I kept some copies which I gave it to the startup founders. So that's one book which actually changed a lot of my thinking.
So Vara pushed a lot based on that book. How do we run our industry motion actually? So I can vouch for
Eh,
that. That he was very
it's a
influential
good
in that.
book. But Khadim, we want a
Yeah.
new one from you.
Actually, I've reduced reading books of late. Actually, for last few quarters, I've been a lot more on podcast.
Okay.
So
So
you
what's
guys
the
also.
last podcast that
So
impacted you?
I few podcasts which I follow are All In, which gives a lot more 360
Okay.
view of current affairs and what's happening in investment world and other stuff. Then I look 20 VC and then SaaSter
Understand.
podcast, which gives specific to SaaS. And in terms of book, I think was I really liked was Hard Things About Hard Things. Right, even at scale,
Okay.
there's a near death moments.
Yeah, that book is awesome. Who's a founder you look up to?
For me, I look up to a lot Vara primarily. He's always admire his skill or his perseverance and discipline, which I would like to always emulate. And apart from Vara, definitely like how Elon Musk has been successful in multiple industries, right? Whether it's
Hmm.
solar or whether it's an EV or software, right? So that's tremendous.
Yeah. So, in general, very similar. Means every founder I look at, I just feel there's a lot to learn. So
Hmm.
every time I talk with founders, I feel we're just getting a lot of new things.
Hmm.
Definitely, I echo to what Kadam is saying. Elon Musk, yeah, is really good, and there's a lot to learn from.
So next question, Khadim, I think you already answered it. So Vara, maybe this is one's for you. What's one trait in your co-founder that you're envious of?
Yeah, so I think in Kadim, I think the one trait, if I have to pick, the ability to scale,
Hmm.
so that's probably one trait which I tried emulating a little bit, but I don't think I'm as successful as he does with these. I think it's very natural to him to be able to scale.
Maybe we
Awesome.
complement each other.
And the final one, what's one truth that you deeply believe in, which few people agree with you on? And it doesn't have to be related to your company, it can be in life as well.
Yeah, there's one. Uh, I believe that truth is perspective. So there's nothing
Hmm.
called truth; it's just a perspective.
Okay.
Which at times it's harder to explain
Hmm.
to the people that there's nothing called
So this is a
pure.
meta answer on truth itself. There are no facts, only opinions. It's a good one.
Still,
Yeah, it's a good one.
Karim,
Khadim,
go
what
ahead.
about you?
Yeah, I feel specifically from the startup perspective, I think everyone, right, from venture capitalists to startup founders and even leaders and executives, everybody push hard for growth, right? Run fast, fail fast, right? At least from my experience in the last 8 to 10 years, what I have started believing is actually the growth and the success comes over several iterations of several years, maybe 10 years, maybe it's 15,
Hmm.
20 years actually. So I think it's very important to iterate and make things right, fundamentally right, rather than just run for some goal post. So I think as a childhood we used to read, right? Slow and steady wins the race.
Right.
Maybe that's what off late I'm believing a lot.
Scale slowly, but over a long time period, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
More than that, actually, I would not say scale slowly. I would say scale with the right fundamentals. And a
Yeah.
The right
fundamental,
fundamentals.
putting the right fundamentals in place, it needs a lot of iteration. It takes time.
Sustainably growing. I
Yeah.
actually agree. I think those are the companies that last longer as well. The
Yeah.
ones that do it step by step and in a sustainable manner. Would
And,
love
and when
to.
you have the right fundamentals across, when you have the right fundamentals across all the functions, and you create those engines in a best way,
Right.
I think the compounding effect when you innovate in across in your engineering, how your distribution works, I think that compounding actually surpasses the fast initial years of growth which
Yeah.
somebody would have
Right.
done without fundamentals.
Makes sense. Agree. Would love to deep dive into your backgrounds. Where are you from originally? What were your early motivations in life, and how did your paths cross? We know that you guys work together as well. So maybe leading up to that, Khadim, Vara individually, and then we can talk about what fix.
Sure.
Okay.
So maybe I can start. So born and brought up in Mumbai, a Gujarati by background.
Okay.
Did my schooling engineering in Mumbai. Did my first job in CMC in hardware. I was actually electrical engineer. Uh,
Oh.
During my first job, I got acquainted with computers. Like, till when it was a lot more just doing small labs.
Hmm.
Uh, I thought that's the way that's the path I should build my career, and so I did my post graduation from IIIT Bangalore in software. I worked for 10 years in Huawei Telecom building business intelligence product line. That's where I met Vara. I think in the second year of his stint, he joined. We joined the same team and we built the whole BI product line for like 100, people, primarily onto research and development. And, there was no GTM involved there. Came out and started this company. But anyway, that's a long different story. But thing which actually which I can connect the dots was my engineering BTech, which I did in Mumbai. That was
Hmm.
first batch, new
Oh.
college.
Okay.
My postgraduate IIIT Bangalore, which I did, was the first batch.
Okay.
Huawei, which I joined, the telecom company, it was the first year of their setup in Bangalore and the first center out of India. Sorry, out of
Oh,
China, first center in India. So I think that probably actually helped me take risk, right?
right.
I think by then, by the time I joined Huawei, I think I was not afraid of trying out something new.
Right.
Uh, Maybe that actually created that set up those DNA of
That's
certain
pretty cool.
entrepreneurship and all. Yeah.
You actually took risk with your colleges also, which is a bit rare.
Yeah. So even in Huawei also, I think it was a lot more entrepreneurship. We
Okay.
experimented a lot, me and Vara. Some of the experiments we did even without telling our management. So that fear of failure actually had gone to a good extent.
Very cool. What about you, Vara?
Yeah, so born brought up in Andhra, then did PG in Hyderabad, and then moved to Bangalore in around 2001. That was my first job at Huawei. So that's when I met Khadim. We both, since then, almost worked together. Last 23 years, we knew each other. I was all destined to handle our family business. We have a cloth retail shop in our village. That was all. It's all destined there. But computers changed everything for me. So I built a lot of passion for programming. Just that programming changed and my perspective. Then from the time there's a lot of interest towards building something for customers, and risk is not a issue at all, because obviously usually the happiness is about expectations and reality. So my expectations aren't as super great. So I'm willing to take any risk so that there's no lose. So when Kadim told that about both of us coming out and starting, I was in. So I told, okay, let's do. So I think only thing we both were prepared was with enough cash, so that we could sustain our families for 3 years, because at least that time we were very clear in our head that 1,000 days we need to run without money,
Hmm.
without business getting any revenue. So that's the only thing we were prepared for. So there's nothing else, no clarity of idea of what do we build. Nothing was clear. We just left, and then we came out and then started figuring everything out.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was interesting. Maybe I can add more color to that. Actually, it was we used to do a lot of builds, late night builds for releasing our product. Actually, and one of the late nights around 2 a.m., just while picking up a cup of coffee in the cafeteria, I asked Vara, I think we should do something ourselves now. He said, "Fine, let's do it." I asked him like to clarify that. Okay, I'm talking about quitting and starting. He said, "Yeah, that's fine."
Okay.
I said, I said, I don't have any idea. Do you have? He said, anyway, we don't have time now because we were leading a large team there. He said, let's quit and then we'll think about it. So we quit. We took a place and then we started going every day and thinking what we should
Really?
Wow,
do.
that's incredible.
And that is some courage and conviction in yourselves. And how did you both meet at Huawei? Were you in the same team? How did that overlap happen?
Yeah, we were the same team actually. So,
Okay.
in my second year of my career in Huawei, actually, I started working on building reporting product where Vara joined as an engineer. It was a small team of 5-6 people. Started leading, and that gradually that tool became a business intelligence product line over 9 years.
Okay.
And the team also started continued to scale from 5-6 people to more than 100 people. And Vara, eventually I took a path of leading on the management side of the whole group, and Vara actually continued to lead the technology. So he was the
Okay.
you can say chief architect or the lead architect, and I was on the management side. So we started complementing each other right from those early days in Huawei till it.
Understand. That's awesome. I mean, and this.
So it's been like 23 years, 22 years working together now.
Yeah, yeah, 22, 23 years we knew each other.
Right. So walk us through those early days, right? You guys quit. You knew you wanted to do something. You didn't know what. Where did you start? How did you find out what you're going to do?
Yeah, of course, there were someone starting very new the startups and didn't have any idea about businesses since then. At that time, of course, we made a few things which probably in hindsight we might not have done it now. We might not do it now. So the one of the at that time, as we talked about, we were brainstorming on a lot of ideas. We listed a lot of ideas, and we wanted to approach some of those problem statements. And the way we shortlisted at the time, which I don't believe it's the right thing to do, was we shortlisted an idea which was about search optimization for small businesses. We believe this problem statement is real because a lot of small businesses are trying to find presence online, and they don't have enough technical hardware to make their website to be crawled well by a lot of search engines. So we wanted to build a search engine optimization product where we just crawl these websites just like a search engine and tell them back what kind of things that they could do. We picked that idea assuming that the product building is easy, we could do it very fast, and we could actually generate revenue faster, and then eventually we build more products. That was a thought at that time when we started. But soon, once we started, we realized the problem is very deep. It takes a lot more effort than what we were actually imagining. So, at some extent, we were underestimating what takes to build the product in the initial days. Probably, if we have understood what it takes, we would have made a slightly more thought out decision at that time. But nevertheless, we went very deep in that problem statement because these were small businesses, they don't have technology background. So even a small recommendation that you make, let's say you forgot to set a title for your website, they really don't know how to set it. They don't know where to go to GoDaddy and modify. They really don't know because they got this website built by a third party, and then after that, there's no one else who is helping them. So we went quite deeper in this problem statement. How do we help them? So that's where this idea of Whatfix came. Uh, what we started doing was that every recommendation that we were giving to the user, we would put a button called Fix It, which would take the user to their respective CMS like WordPress, GoDaddy, whatever it is, and guide them step by step to fix it. So that started working really well because now not just we are giving recommendations, but we are also hand holding them to fix those problems so that they can actually see the ROI and then they can stay with us. So that started really resonating well with people. Then around 2013 2014 timeframe, that's when we started thinking this problem of hand holding people on the software is really really big. Why not we pivot and we just focus on one? So at that time, we already had around a couple of probably 100 plus customers on our search optimization product. Anyway, we always believe that the focus is most important, and one can't put focus on multiple things at such an early stage. So we debated a lot that we can only focus on one, not both. So around 2013 and roughly, we decided that we'll shut down our search optimization product and we refunded everyone, and then we moved to Whatfix. So the whole emphasis of Whatfix is about can we be a layer on all applications and make sure that people are handholded well. So can we make this software very well user savvy? So that's the entire concept. From there, it grew. Khadim, anything you want to add?
No, so I think a couple of important learnings what we had. Couple of important learnings we had during the initial search enabler days was like we didn't actually follow that MVP model, right? Like we built a big bang, we almost coded for a year and then rolled out. And after rolling out, we realized that 40-50% features of no use, people are not using. We started throwing off to get that product market fit. So a lot of those learnings actually we decided, okay, we will not repeat that mistake in Whatfix, and that really helped.
Yeah, true.
Is the name Whatfix from fixing anything?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. It came from that search enabler days because we had this button called Fix It. And then we
Hmm.
realized that there are so many different CSS and so many different systems which we can't build fixes for all of those. So we wanted to allow communities to contribute and add these fixes. So that's how we started this Whatfix as a community platform where just like YouTube, anyone could just come in and create a guidance on any software. It could be booking ticket to fixing things to anything. So that
Wow.
was the process. That's where Whatfix started.
So
I
you're
think I
not
think
at all on. It was almost a consumer business in the initial
It
days,
started as a consumer business, like a YouTube. Then a lot of pivots to small businesses, to enterprises, to large enterprises. A lot of pivots.
right? So walk us through it. I mean, so maybe jumping right into it, right? What's that one piece of advice, right, especially on the enterprise end, that you would give to SaaS founders to help their customers cross that buy versus build dilemma? Because that's always a challenge, especially with bigger enterprise customers, right? They can just build it themselves. Uh, so
Yeah.
maybe start off with what's your approach and what's your pitch, and then maybe more general advice for.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit of how this transition happened, and I'll also explain about the question that you asked about. So we always believed in this that we should focus as granular as possible. So that's why when we were doing the community, which is a consumer, then we started hearing question asked from the people that they want a private version, they want it only for their customers, things like that. Then again, a
Ah,
dilemma. So do we do both? Do we do one? Then we decided that we will only one. Then we moved to paid version. Then in that also, then we started dilemma of do we focus on customer facing or do we focus on employee facing, because employees also have lots of software. So
yeah,
these
yeah, yeah,
dilemmas we keep resolving as we kept moving. And then when the question of build versus buy, so as Whatfix is a very new category, and often people think if you have to educate someone, the way of education is through writing a document, or at best you create a video. But people really don't think about in-app, in-flow. Can we nudge people? Can we guide people in flow? That's not very natural. So what we realized is that our applicability is very broad to any industry, and we wanted to go to a businesses. So we were not targeting to sell to engineering teams or IT teams. We go to businesses like a sales team, HR team, and a client management team,
right,
transportation. We go to businesses, so we get much lesser questions on build versus buy kind of an arguments. But of course, time to time we had to answer this.
yeah,
But often the simple point always to ask about is that to our customers is you would want to build it if this is your core, and it is not very easy to build something which works on every single technology that you have in your organization or you are presenting to your customers. It's a deep problem. So eventually they realize that it's not as easy as they imagine to be able to build something like this. And often very often they decide that they would want to buy instead of build by themselves, because they understand the technology depth is very high, and it's too much of engineering uplift to be able to do. So anything, Kadim, you want to share?
Yeah, so actually, as what I was mentioning, that problem statement actually resonated with several use cases across any company and several different like for example, it can be used in a commerce website or a SaaS company for their helping their end users. Banks can help in their retail banking or corporate banking. It can be used inside a large enterprises on thousands of softwares like CRM, ERP, CLM, CPQ. It's endless, right? And there are 40-50% custom softwares as well. Now, within this whole several use cases, we started focusing a lot on employee experience, going deeper into larger enterprises, how we can actually improve the productivity or adoption of the usage of the software used by employees internally. Now, take an example of any manufacturing company or pharma company or let's say government organization. If you go to a customer experience use case to a SaaS company or a tech company, and if you pitch something, they might still think about build, right? There can be a question mark saying, okay, I have thousands of engineers I can do. But if you look at a manufacturing company or a pharma or automobile, many of those buyers don't even know they have an engineering department where they can build something. Their engineering department is a more of manufacturing a product, a tool or something like that, right? If they have to build or they have to think about software features, like should I outsource to Accentures or Wipros of the world, or what do we do?
yeah. No, that's quite interesting. And just to kind of double click on it, you guys spoke about how you pivoted through several different target customers and kind of landed on this very deliberately. Can you walk us through some of those decisions and why this choice to kind of focus on employees and enterprise? Was it yeah, walk us through the thought process?
Yeah, let me add actually on that. So, as we started going deeper into this problem statement, if you look at the buyer personas or the use case expectations of solution. So, if you look at a customer experience use case, typical buyer will be the head of or head of product, or a chief manager of a business, someone who is actually responsible for the P&L or the. Now, their expectation is they are actually tweaking with the user experience. So they need this product to be very well aligned with their experience, what they want to give as part of their platform. Even a small shadow on a tooltip or something, it bothers them, right? So they would need a lot of customization. They will need a lot of hooks. They want to do some behavioral triggers, a lot of data-based behavioral triggers, etc. And all. But if you look at employee experience, if you're talking about operations guy or people or L&D folks and all, they need something which is very easy to deploy and maintain. They need something which actually can adapt to changes of the underlying software platforms. So as you start going deeper, the requirements actually start differing a lot. So when we actually started building for this particular, for both the cases initially, we realized the requirements are actually sometimes it's triggering us one extreme to other extreme. We had to make a choice to go deep. So that's where we made a choice that, okay, let's go and go deeper into EX and make it so easy to maintain and deploy that it resonates with that particular market or segment. So in that segment, EX, we wanted to win every deal. Whereas in CX, if we win, it's a bonus. So
Yeah.
from a winning a 1 out of 10 in that EX segment, today we win actually 7 out of 10. So that choices really helped us to innovate, go differentiate ourselves, and really specialize and go deep.
Yeah, and then eventually now we built many abilities where even in the customer facing world we are very strong. We built very deep product analytics product line around 1.5 2 years back. As we scaled, it gave us ability to focus on more segments and build abilities which can cater to a lot more segments. But initial days we had to narrow a lot so that it was much more easier to build the product and target to that particular segment. And even the enterprise the decision of enterprise also eventually came, because initially it was mostly Kadim and me selling mostly India software companies, because we would go and meet in Bangalore. Its default is just go meet customer, show the product, then try to sell. So initial 10 customers, most of them were all came like that. So then we did some of the events, especially the Dreamforce. We did it in the US, where all the Salesforce customers were there. It was an experiment for us. We just wanted to understand what the pain points. But every single one who visited our booth liked it. Everyone liked what they saw, because every one of them going through the same problem statement or making sure salespeople understand sales system and use it effectively. Otherwise, they are not able to really track pipeline, and they are not able to get good predictability of sales revenue. So they felt Whatfix could be a great solution from that angle. So that changed a lot of our perspective. Then we started learning a lot about enterprises and employee side story, and what could we make a big difference there. That changed some of the Whatfix thought process.
Just to give an analogy here, actually, right? Like an hourglass, right? When it actually there are like when we start, there are too many different use cases and different ways you want to try out to get a product market fit. So basically, primarily you need to narrow down, and once you narrow down, that sand moves fastest, right? That velocity is highest there,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
at some point you scale, right? Like as I was
Then
mentioning,
you scrap.
we selected employee experience, but now within the employee experience also we started going across functions and departments, HRs, sales, and all. And the buyer person also started going higher up the hierarchy, from a director of L&D to operations to IT heads to CIO. Now, some of those business leaders like chief digital officers or chief product officers, they don't want to solve only the internal problem. They want to solve the complete problem. I want to solve adoption of my all internal plus wherever my field agents are there, wherever my customers are interfacing. So then you start adding more use cases, and by then you would have built enough muscle as well.
That I love that analogy, and that's great advice for aspiring founders. I think when you look at big SaaS software, you see all the features, and it's kind of your instinct almost to go out and build stuff and solve all those use cases. So that's really good. Um, but okay, so now you going back to your journey, right? You had your first version of your new product. You'd kind of refined the customers you wanted to go after. You went to this conference and you realized enterprise was the space you wanted to be in. Walk us through the next steps, and where did you go from there, and why did you decide to move to the US?
Yeah. So from the beginning, our belief is that you could sell and service globally from India, and some part of it is also because obviously there's a budget pressure too, so you can't as easily hire within the limited available budget everywhere across the world. And we believe that we could actually really build a good global sales service organization from India. So most of our initial enterprise sales, and even today, most of the lands to the enterprises happens from India. So the India team working in the US time zone, that's where most of the lands happen. Then eventually what we realized is that landing is possible remotely, but expanding into these customers, because as Whatfix we have applicability across the company. Any department we could go to, where they use hundreds of applications, we can expand into every single one of them. So what we thought is that the expand has to be a lot more in region, because that will help us meet customers more often and grow a little bit more easily. So eventually we realized that we will build a presence in region to focus a lot more on expand, and some bit of lands also we do today in region. So it's a the little bit of nuanced in Whatfix is that we have built a go-to-market organization which is using India's advantage, and plus some of the in-region experiences we added. Even service, it works in the similar lines. Majority of the customer service and everything, customer success is driven from India, but some part of it is also in region. Go ahead, Kadim, you want to describe.
And I just summarized this when somebody asked for more GTM motion. I say land from India, expand in the region.
That's a good one.
And so, just kind of building on this, what general advice do you have? Because we hear Indian founders who want to expand internationally. What were some of the lessons that you guys learned, pros and cons? What should founders keep in mind?
And Khadim, how did
So
you
Yeah,
scale? Like we've been, Vara also mentioned, you also mentioned that the scale process, because I think we are at that stage when scale begins. Maybe, how did you go from 1 million annual revenue to 10 and more? That's when it starts getting a little harder to scale a company.
yeah, so there's no one size fit all solution here,
Of
right?
course.
Because every company has a different dynamics in terms of segment, what they're targeting, category they're part of in. So just take an example of a very well defined category like a CRM, targeting in large enterprises. Now, when somebody, let's say head of procurement or head of sales in a large enterprise, let's say any automobile company or pharma company, when they want to buy a CRM, they're not going to do Googling, right? They're going to just roll out an RFP, go to Accenture or Deloitte or Infosys and say, okay, and based on the practices those services have, they will actually bid. But when new category is created or category gets disrupted because of a technology inflection or change, right? That's a opportunity for a new player to get into live in large enterprises, and that advantage we had, and that's why we were even getting inbound, and we were actually able to acquire a lot of customers, including Fortune companies. But somebody, when a founder starts thinking about their own GTM model, they have to see this: what are the different variables and what are the dynamics they are playing into, right?
yeah.
Now, maybe 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, when our category gets well established, and when one of the service player is actually filling up an RFP along with a ERP transformation project or a CRM transformation project, by default they will have an adoption platform attached to it along with performance software or a contracting software. So then the mindshare is occupied by 2 or 3 players, right? So that's an opportunity as part of any category creation. Another thing is actually very important when, as you mentioned, like apart from 1 to 10 or 10 to 25, 25 and above, and so on. I think along with your GTM muscle, I think your solution also starts building up with more capabilities.
Right.
You start understanding the business nuances. So I'll give an example. When we started, our solution was very horizontal, our pitch was also very horizontal. Like I will help you with improving your productivity, reduce your support. You would be quantified as a tool, right? Because there's no clear benchmark of ROI or value levers. Now, if I go to a property and casualty insurance business head who is doing, let's say, $2 billion worth of insurance processing every year, if I tell them that, okay, I'm going to help you reduce your claims processing time by 10%, actually that moves the needle drastically. I can help 2,000 of your agents reduce the claims errors and turnaround time for that. Your regulators will not have any issues, and you will not face any penalties. Now it's immediate resonant what their business KPIs are. If I still pitch them productivity or just support tickets, they say go talk to my CLO or a head of HR or someone. But if I'm directly talking about their business KPIs, the value of the product also from 50,000 becomes now $500,000, right? Because it's cost based, now it's value based. So as you start scaling and you understand the which business levers you can actually move, your pricing can also change along with how your solution evolves. So it's very important from 1 to 10, 10 to 25, or any other jumps you have, your ACV also goes up dramatically. Like when we were in sub 10 million, we used to do very, very few 100K deals a quarter. Then we started doing $250,000 deals. Then we started doing $500,000 deals. Now we start doing $1 million lands. And I know as we proceed from here, if I have to go to several hundreds of millions of dollars, $1 billion revenue, even $1 million lands won't suffice. I need to start doing 5 million, $10 million lands. So our solution has to keep evolving. Like we were talking about adoption as we go forward. Instead of adoption of our software, can I help CIOs to resolve their, help them realize the ROI on their billions of investment they do on the digital stack? Can I improve the visibility and help them take actions to improvise that? Maybe not only adoption, maybe adoption, collaboration, simulation. So that's how our product portfolio also will evolve and the problem statement also will evolve.
And I think that's a great segue into perhaps the use of AI, because you're talking about visibility, maybe some agentic workflows, and where you are today with Whatfix. Does that play in the mix?
Yeah. So anyway, Vortex whole philosophy is always about uh, can we be just in the flow of user and help them in the flow. So that's been our thought process and narrative. So this gives us ability to be on every single application that user is accessing. So we are able to bring a lot of smartness in context to the user into the application. So that's what we've been doing with generative AI. So a lot of the things that generative AI today can do really well, which is whether doing a summarization, helping you to write, and all of these, we could easily bring it into the software itself. Let's say you are writing a performance review comment. So why can't I help you to write a review comment better? Write it right inside any application, Workday, SuccessFactors, or I'm looking for some guidelines from the company. Why should I step out to go to intranet to look up, but why can't I find it right inside the software? So those are the kind of things that we are solving today for our customers using generative AI. And going forward, the thought process is also that just like human beings, why can't assistants slash bots learn how to use software, so that we just can not only guide the user, but potentially we can also complete these things for the users in the application. So we have to invest a lot in figuring out, can we create this assistant which can truly sit with the user and understand software in the same way as humans that we do. It's a deep technology problem. It will take iterations to get there, but that's a broad direction where lots of investment is going in. So what we have started doing was that for several years, I think last 4 5 years, at least I think we set aside some budget for what we call it as labs. So in R&D, roughly 10% we allocated for this. So we try a lot of ideas and a lot of new innovation. We experiment there under labs.
Understand.
And also, just to add, actually, which Vara just touched a point, right? Like as a philosophically, or if you look at last several years, it was always expected users to learn technology. Like we want users to be tech savvy. Like tech savvy was a
Yeah.
word, right? And with adoption problem statement, when we were trying to work with customers, we realized what we were actually trying is to make sure that softwares are actually adapting to the users.
Hmm.
So we call now it's time for software to be or technology to be user savvy,
User savvy. Yeah.
right? So the other way around. And with AI, this is becoming very
Exactly.
achievable. And
Correct.
I think even before this AI, the trend what we started a couple of years, we wrote a paper on this concept called userization. And we
Hmm.
believe that every software in the world has to be userized, and all our software, what we are building, is actually moving the world towards userization.
Hmm. Wow. That makes a lot of sense. And what are you thinking of in the next 5 years? What does Whatfix look like, say, in 2030? Any crystal gazing, maybe early thoughts?
Uh,
Yeah. So
Good.
I'll share some and then Kadim can share more. So the view is very clear. The problem statement is real, and every organization, there's an opportunity for us to impact them. So the
Hmm.
idea is to continue to grow in the product portfolio, create more products. I think today we sell three product lines to customers: digital adoption platform, product analytics, and a product called Mirror. So the idea is to invest more in products, so build more product lines, which helps broadly the same theme of userization what Kadim talked about. So the view is to grow product portfolio and make a much bigger impact onto our customers. So that's the thought. Go ahead, Kadim. Anything you want to share?
Yeah, so when I look from a buyer perspective, actually, what Vara mentioned from a lot more on technology. Uh, like solving adoption problem of individual software. If I aggregate everything, I am basically, we are trying to help the CXOs of our enterprise, large enterprises, to realize ROI on their digital software investment.
Hmm.
Right? And if you look, the bigger the company, the investments goes into several billions of dollars. And if I can give them visibility of their usage, their bottlenecks with analytics, process analytics, enterprise analytics, and then give them mechanism to fix those or help those realize the outcome with, as what I was mentioning, Mirror is a simulation product, adoption products we have. We are working on a collaboration and many others with everything is built on visualization as a philosophy. We are looking at solving pretty large problem with a huge TAM, which can into several
Understood.
tens of billions of dollars. And each large enterprise TAM for us can be probably a couple of tens of millions of dollars at least.
Hmm.
And that gives us a path towards that. We already have a build a solid distribution engine acquiring enterprise logos, large enterprise logos. I think we need to keep on exploding with his own
Yeah,
enterprises now into each company.
makes sense. Vara, Khadim, thank you for sharing so openly with us. Just as we close, and why we call this Founders Unfiltered, what's one piece of unfiltered feedback you received in your journey as entrepreneurs that really changed your perspective? And it can be the same feedback to both of you or individually. That really changed your perspective, honest, direct, maybe brutal also.
I'll share mine actually, then what I can add. So the analogy which I gave of the hourglass actually came from one of the investor who actually asked me to narrow down the problem statement. Actually, when I was there
Okay.
in the meeting, and the way he put it across, because I was not understanding and I was not narrowing down, because I was very fascinated to multiple use cases we are solving. He said,
Yeah.
okay, let's assume I put a gun on your head, and if you're supposed to select one use case out of this three, which one will it be? And naturally, I pointed to one of those, and he said, yeah, I would, if I was in your place, I would do that.
Okay.
And actually, that changed a lot. So specialization is the one thing I would say. Go really, really deep, narrow. It will help you to go deep. Very few people go there, and that's where you will discover a lot of stuff and you will innovate.
Yeah. Probably one of the feedback that I received was from uh, I wasn't direct enough in many times because I do want to put it across in a way that others don't get hurt as much.
Hmm.
Probably that's one lesson which I learned, that you have to be direct. That's when people really understand what you're thinking. And that changed a lot of my communication. That's not just professionally, even personally. So always just being direct and being very open and transparent, which I've learned it to be very helpful.
Awesome. Khadim, Vara, thank you so much for taking our time to do this. Really enjoyed the chat and learning actually how to scale a SaaS company, what are the motions involved, and the early days of your journey. Thank you so much for sharing with us, and we are pretty sure our listeners will enjoy it.
Thanks, Aviral.
Thank,
Thanks, Mazin. Happy
thank
to,
you
it
for
was a
having
pleasure
us.
to be chatting here. Thanks a lot.